With 2/3 of the season in the books, I'm going to give you my take on 21 players to keep, bench, or drop from your team to give you the best chances of winning down the stretch in your fantasy football season. I'm not mentioning the players who are killing it every week, but the ones who are on the bubble. Hold on tight, I'm going to do it in 4 minutes, so here we go. I'm going to start with something I'm calling back from the dead. Some players we haven't heard from in a while who suddenly came back to life this past week. The question is, are they one and done, or have they found their way back into fantasy relevancy? Dez Bryant. Dak Prescott's learning how valuable it is to throw Dez's way. Keep him and start him. Ryan Matthews finally showed up with over 100 yards and 2 TDs on Sunday. However, Matthews is in a huge timeshare, so he's totally touchdown dependent. He's one to stash on your bench for the best matchups. Doug Baldwin, 3 TDs on Sunday after disappearing for 6 weeks. Suddenly the Seahawks are becoming a pass-first offense. Play him most weeks. Cam Newton has the fire back in his eyes and has the fantasy points to show for it this past week. Play him most weeks from here on out. Next, streaking players who should be started every week. Davante Adams. He's had double-digit fantasy points in the past month. He's finally breaking out. Stephon Diggs. On a team with a bad offense, Diggs is a burner, and he is the one bright spot on this team. Tyrell Williams, 2 TDs and 190 yards in the last 2 games. With Travis Benjamin having injury issues, Williams is the wide receiver to own and to start. Golden Tate has been lights out this past month. Allen Robinson, 183 yards and 2 TDs on 16 receptions over the past 2 weeks. Welcome back, Allen. However, I want to remind you that the Jags do have a tough stretch of games coming up. Marcus Mariota, he's averaging 3 TDs over the past 6 games. He has 2 more easy games before a bye and then 4 tougher defenses in a row, starting with Denver in Week 14. You may want to drop or trade him after those next 2 weeks. Cameron Brate, tight end. Talk about trending up. He's tied for the league lead in touchdowns scored as a tight end, and he's still only owned in half the leagues. Next up, fading players to keep on your team, but who you should bench unless they're against favorable matchups. We're going to start with Todd Gurley. His offensive line stinks this year, as does the Rams QB. But he does have 3 good matchups, including one in the playoffs in weeks 12, 14, and 16. Otherwise, the better play may be to bench him. Devontae Booker. He's not looking great, but he's still getting most of the touches in the backfield. Randall Cobb. With the emergence of Davante Adams along with the continued strong play of Jordy Nelson, Cobb is losing touches. Brandon Marshall. It's hard to drop a wide receiver 1, but most weeks he should be on your bench. He does have very favorable matchups in weeks 13 and 14. Marvin Jones. He's all but disappeared as Golden Tate has taken the spotlight. If he doesn't ball out in week 13 against New Orleans, you can safely drop him to pick up someone else for your playoff stretch. And finally, players that you can drop right now, especially if you need some space to pick up another player. Christine Michael. Hate to say it because I had him, but I already dropped him. This past week, he became the backup for Procise, and Rawls comes back next week. Michael's run as RB1 is over. Jerick McKinnon and Matt Asiata, with an already anemic run offense, these two are in for even worse point totals now that Ronnie Hillman has joined this 3-headed monster. Do not start any of these guys against the Cardinals next week. Ty Montgomery. It was fun while it lasted, but with Stark's return as a running back, Montgomery fades away into insignificance. John Brown. Brown rotated in behind Fitzgerald, Floyd, and J.J. Nelson and caught 2 passes on Sunday. It's time to move on. Carson Wentz. He has scored single-digit fantasy points in 4 of his past 5 games, and next week he faces the Seahawks. Not good. So there you go. 22 players in about 4 minutes. Hope that helped you make some good decisions. Be sure to have fun. After all, that is what games are supposed to be about. In the Deeper Truth section below, I'll talk about Dez Bryant's loss of his father less than 24 hours before his game against the Steelers this past Sunday. If you've experienced the loss of someone important to you recently, I think this will really help you out.